Awesome. And I'm Blake. I sit in a laptop and film silly videos. Yeah, so the name of this mastermind is Impossible to Ignore, and that's by intention. So Sam, a lovely branding agency, is also working with me here, and we've decided on what the intention of what I do is, and we've landed on it's making people impossible to ignore and harder to forget. So that is my entire mission, it's my vision, it's what I want to do with people, and it's why you're all here today. And when you walk away from today, I have one goal, and that's to help you walk away with the positioning architecture that we use in our company's Reputation Accelerator. And I'll get into what that entails. But I want to help all of you turn attention. If you have attention already, some of you may not have attention. You can learn how to get attention and then how to turn that attention into trust. And then, and then turn that trust into clients, because at the end of the day, we all want to make money because money rules the world. Am I right? So, like I briefly said, the Reputation Accelerator is the main kind of vehicle that we use. But a little bit further, we're going to go into the story, define who you're talking to, lock in on your mission, and we're going to turn it into content. Easy peasy, right? Briefly on the Reputation Accelerator, I believe that a personal brand has 5 stages: standards, positioning, production, rhythm, and refinement. Now, I'm not going to tell you all about those stages, but the main 2 that we're going to focus on today is standards and positioning. So that links back into the Reputation Accelerator, and this gives a bigger picture over how I work and what we do. Positioning is all about taking someone from generic to being unique, because in a business, and I'm sure Sam can affirm me here, you need to have a unique value proposition. You can't be the same as your competitors, and content is the exact same. You need to have something that makes you different to everyone else, and 95% of the time, that is your story. As we've seen today from John T sharing his story, that is a fucking unique story that would be completely different to everyone else. So we're going to get into it. So the positioning architecture falls under the positioning kind of thing. And the whole reason it's called the positioning architecture is because if you don't have it's like a house is the way I think about it, is if you don't have any foundations for your content, for your personal brand, it's all going to collapse. So if you get really clear on why people are attaching you, your content's going to be way easier to make. A very big misconception that I see with content is that you have to post more. Now, don't get me wrong, I've posted every day for the last 7 days, and I'll be posting every day for the next 2 months. But you don't have to post every day, because if you're not posting anything that actually means anything, there's no point. The whole idea of content and the whole reason and the whole view on a content I have is to build a reputation. Because I think of content, think about 20 years ago before social media was really a thing, right? Everything was built on your name. If I walked up to Sam at an event and I introduced myself as Blake, I run a branding agency, he'd want to know, what do I do? How do I get there? Does he know me through anyone else? Same way if you're an online coach or if you're a fitness coach, you would be going off of referrals and who people know. Content just amplifies that. So that's the easiest way that I can explain it to you. I believe that the positioning architecture is built up of 3 key layers. And for those of you that have worked with me, you know I'm very big on story and very big on a dream follower. And I'll get all into that later. But these 3 pillars are very important. This is a new one that I've added very recently, and it's something that I think is unique, and I think it's something that's going to separate you from 95% of the competition, right? Your mission is, think of it like a business mission. What do you stand for? What do you want to achieve, right? Your story is obviously your story. You know, J-Wall cuts, you know, he started off cutting hair at what age? 15, right? Crazy story. And then everything that's led up to where he is now. And then everything else behind, like beneath, that's happened on that timeline. And your avatar is who you're targeting. And does anyone here know what an ICP is besides Sam? Okay. So there's we'll explain this as well, but your avatar is kind of like your ICP, but for your content and for your mission. And when you have all of them together, and it's very deliberate why they're like this, because if you have them all together and you have your mission and your story, you become authentic. And when you have a mission and an avatar, you're relevant. And when you have a story and an avatar, you become relatable. And all that together creates authority. And authority is the number one thing that you need in a world full of noise, right? There are a million online coaches, and that's not to say that you can't do it, because it's very, very possible. There's also a million branding agencies in the world, but it's all about positioning. So let's get into the story element. we think in a world of like social media where there are a lot of gurus, and you might even think that I'm a guru myself sometimes, but your story is what has led you to where you are today. So I'll use Jet as an example for here. Like he started cutting hair at 15 and now he's 18, going on 19. He's running a very good barbering business, like my haircut. It's pretty fucking good. But that's his story. That timeline is what led him to believe what he believes today. So if you don't have a story and you can't communicate your story, anything that you say has no weight to it, if that makes sense. I want you to think there's a common, metaphor in storytelling about a personal brand, an iceberg, and personal branding and content is the exact same. Everything on the top is what people are saying at face value. It's your way you look, it's what you wear, it's your hair color, it's your content, it's your camera, it's your stories, it's all that bullshit. And that's, to an extent, what you're known for at face value. It's like when you look at Crown Casino. I don't know why I've used Crown Casino as an example, but when you look at Crown Casino, at face value, it's a big fuck-ass casino that is lit up with lights and it looks, help me out here, it looks ominous, kind of. No? Yeah. Cool. But when you go in, it gets different. It makes it unique to the pokies down at Frankston. And it's the same with content. There's a line here of what everyone sees, which is, like I said, your stories, what everyone sees on content. But when you go below it, is what makes you unique. And this is where your story fits in. If you're only showing what's up here, there's all this left about you and what makes you the choice over someone else. When I look at your content, or when someone looks at your content, you need to be able to answer these. Why you? Can I relate to this person? And have they lived what I want to do? So if I ask the question to old Joe Blow down on the corner of Frankston and he watches my content and he's paying me to do his stuff for him, he can look at my content and he can say, why you? Well, because I've done everything. I've done everything that this person would want to do. I've started posting content. I was in high school. I graduated high school and now I'm here. That is inspirational to some people. And that's why people pay you. Another really important thing that you need to remember is that your point of view is not an opinion. It is a conclusion that you have earned over the course of many years. Many of you are, besides Sam, he's an outlier, 20 to 25. You have lived a lot longer than me, for example, but there has been a lot that has happened in your life that has led you to conclude on the way you view the world or the way you view your industry. So if you're in fitness, you've been doing fitness forever, you have a different view compared to someone that's just started. I want you to think about any person you're drawn to online. Does anyone have any people that they want to shout out into the world?
Jaden Lang.
I have no idea who Jaden Lang is.
Big Islander?
No idea.
Alex Hormozi.
Alex Hormozi is a good one because you see my slides. But I guarantee whoever you're thinking about, it has nothing to do with their actual content, like nothing to do with what they're posting. And I would be very confident to say that that's the same for my own content. Everyone that watches my content doesn't really give a fuck about what I have to say on the reels or the posts. They like me for me and who I am as a person because I'm able to convey who I am as a person to some degree through my content. And that's what I want you to take away from, especially this segment. You need to be able to get your personality out into the world, get your story out into the world so that people can like you. Because if people don't like you, they're not going to trust you. If they don't trust you, they're not going to pay you. Alex Hormozi. So I've got a couple of examples here. Alex Hormozi is a very interesting one. This guy's been doing content probably longer than any of us have had computers for. Like he started with doing gym content on a webcam. But people trust him to tell them about offers, all his books, and everything because of his story. Like he just started when he had nothing. And he just kept going relentlessly, worked hard. He came from nothing and now he has millions and millions of dollars, invests in $100 million businesses. That's why we trust what he says. Same way I wouldn't trust Jay Wall Cuts to talk about offers or business offers because he hasn't been through it. That's not a dig, it's an example. Gary Vee, who knows Gary Vee? Yeah, we all know Gary Vee. This guy was preaching about social media being the new wave before anyone else. So now when he talks about social media and what's coming up in the digital world, we trust what he's saying. That's why he's an authority in his space. Again, it's not what he's talking about, it's everything that he's been through. Tom Noski, some of you may know Tom Noski is a very big inspiration of mine, but People trust him because he was an operator. He was a freelance videographer for years, made no money, and then he decided to turn it and become a business owner because he realized that that's where the money was. And he was just so obsessed with it. That's relatable. Did you notice every single time I talked about these people, besides very briefly on what they post content on, it was about who they were? You need to think about the same for you. When you're posting content, are you talking about what you're doing or are you talking about who you are? To illustrate it better, your story has to do 3 things for your audience. I use this timeline. It's 3 separate windows into where you were, where you are, and where you're going. So in the worksheet, there is a section, but we'll get into that and I'll show you it, and you can fill it out. But when someone looks at your content, and especially story content, because you shouldn't just post story content, you should have a diverse mix of content, and we'll get into that later as well. But you need to be able to show where you were because it makes you relatable. So for me, for example, I started using an old camera that was handed me down. I recorded a really shit video about coffee making. The backdrop was horrendous. There was one still in there where it had a vase with water and it was dirty water. And that was all I remembered from it. But people relate to that, just creating a piece of content for the sake of creating and trying. Same with this. I posted absolutely horrendous videos when I first started. In fact, I got clowned for them. I was at school and there is an element of leadership in there, but the main thing that relates to my dream follower or my avatar is that I'm 18. And people can view that as a negative and they can view it as a positive. For a lot of us being this young, I guarantee you it's a positive. I haven't actually faced anything where, oh, I don't trust what you're saying because you're 18. If anything, I've found that more people believe what you're saying because you were so young. Because there's not many young people doing what the fuck you're doing. And the fact that you're in this room right now, you're already ahead of 99% of people. Where you are now makes you admirable. This is why you are here today. Like, without upping myself, what I'm doing to some degree must be admirable to some of you, right? The fact that I'm able to make money off of this, I'm able to travel wherever I want doing this, and the fact that I'm able to get results like this for my clients. Like, I know what I'm talking about. But where you're going, and this is the bit that everyone forgets, everyone wants to talk about where they are now. I'm making $10,000 a month. I've got this Miami penthouse, all this bullshit. No one talks about where you're going. This is the long game, right? If you're in here to make $10,000 instantly, you're in the wrong room. The door's there. This is all about building an empire. You want to have authority. You want to have reputation because it's built over many, many years. You don't just wake up one morning and be the go-to person in music production or the go-to person in posture correction or fitness coaching. It takes fucking years. But that's what makes you aspirational. So I'm very open about my goals. If someone asks me, like, I want to do 500K this year. I have other personal goals. And what have I got here? Oh, my company, which is we exist to, I should know that off the top of my head, but we exist to make people impossible. That's where I'm going. I want this content gold mine. I want to run the game. The more you fill this timeline, the deeper your audience is going to become. There is a quote that I read from this keynote speaker. She was very well known. I don't remember her name, but she was speaking in front of 100 people and nobody was really listening to them until she turned around and said, I killed my kid. And her kid was 2. And then everyone just like snapped in. She told them about how she didn't take care of her and eventually she died because of her decisions and some other stuff. She wasn't supposed to have the baby. I'm not going to get too deep into it. But the idea is that you can't have intimacy without vulnerability. If you've ever been on a date, you have to be vulnerable. If you ever want a successful relationship, you need to be vulnerable with the other person. You just have a relationship, but instead of it being with the opposite sex or whatever you're into, it's content and your audience. Does that make sense? One last little thing for this story section, anecdotes. I swear to God, if I see any of you, I don't even care if we never speak again, I'm following all of you. If I see any of you motherfuckers tell someone what to do, I will personally find you and slap you. You need to be telling stories from your perspective. People don't like to be told what to do. Have any of you read How to Win and Influence Friends? Great book, highly recommend it. But the first principle in that basically talks about figuring out what the other person wants. If you can humble yourself to be more involved in what the other person wants, you can get more out of life. The other person on the other side of the screen doesn't want to be told something. They want to know it's possible. And that goes back to that timeline around being admirable. You need to be able to show anecdotally how you went from here to here and what you're doing to go to here. An example of this, so for me, something that I made many mistakes back when I first started content was telling. And that's why I tell this from a position of authority, is that you can't fucking do it. I used to sit there and go, here's how to come up with content ideas. Here are the 10 best ways to make content. You need to be looking at it from, I used to stare at blank screens for hours, convinced I had nothing to say, then I started doing this one thing. Which one would you listen to? Bottom one, because it's a story. But also there's positioning in there that we'll get into later around this is a pain point. Probably the people that I'm speaking to would have stared at a blank screen for hours thinking, oh, what do I do? And then they convince themselves, oh, I actually don't really know what to say. I have no position on this. Okay, part 2. Now, Jonty, Brandon, and Sam would know about this. Dream followers. I've changed the word to avatars now because I think it sounds cooler. It's like the movie. The biggest misconception with content, again, is you need to have a niche. A lot of people talk to me and they say, oh, my niche is like I'm in the barbering industry, or I'm in the business industry. I'm in the business niche. I'm like, why do you need a niche? Like you just need to have an avatar. You need to have someone you speak to. Do you think I have a niche? I talk about whatever I want to some degree, right? But I'm not going to go and talk about fitness content because I'm not in any authority to talk about fitness content. That's why Jonty's here. But you can't speak to everyone, like I'm just saying there. I can't speak to everyone and connect with everyone at the same time. The avatar is all about figuring out who you want consuming your content. And the mission will also make this way more clearer. But considering the ICP conversation, when you're in a business, you have an ideal client profile. It's like, who is buying my product? So for me, it's 22 to 55-year-old founders with probably $1 million in revenue that are able to invest into my products and services. If you don't fall in that, like, why are we working together? I don't want to target you because you aren't going to buy my product. Does that make sense? Excuse me. The avatar is the dream follower. It's who you're targeting with your content. Who do you want watching your content? I'll explain this a little bit in a couple of slides. But the more precise you are on the person, the faster the trust. Because if we go back to the timeline and on your story, if you're able to figure out who you're targeting with your content and it's based off of your story, you are in a position of authority to say, okay, well, my person is where I was and I'm here now, right? I can talk about all my stories and everything to build trust that you're able to go from here to here. I'll give an example. If you were J Wall Cuts and you wanted to start selling an academy, right? You could say, all right, I was 15-year-old trying to be a barber as well. You're in a position of authority because you've been able to do it. Of course, you may still be doing it, but you've done it. But you should know your avatar better than they know themselves. So for me, my avatar is young entrepreneurs. Simple as that. I know all of those young entrepreneurs better than they know themselves. I know for a fact J Wall Cuts, before I've even had a conversation with him, is that he sucks at content. I know that he struggles with ideas, that he struggles with how to take his ideas to content. And that's not a dig. That's just like a general, I understand your problems. I understand who you are as a person. I understand that you want to do something, but you don't know how to get there. Right? Same way if you were trying to sell a posture product, right? You need to understand your ICP. Obviously, this is more ICP, but it's the same concept. You need to understand the pain points of who's purchasing or who's watching your content and how do you target them. Once you know your avatar, your content only has one job, and it's to take them from pain to pleasure. Now, there is a very common thing in sales, and actually, I'm just going to save you an entire year of marketing. Apparently, this is what you learn in your whole first year of marketing, is this diagram. And I'm going to explain it to you in 5 minutes. Your content is the bridge between your audience's pain and the desired outcome. Has anyone heard this analogy before, besides Sam? Sales. So sales is all about selling to someone. Like when you go to a car dealership, the card man is the dealer person is going to be, oh, what's your problems? Why are you looking for this new car? It's figuring out their pains. They want this new car. Content's the same. Your pain right now is maybe, for me, it's you don't know how to make content. You're owning a massive business and you want to make content. You know your brand matters, but you have no idea how to get there. My content is the vehicle. There's many vehicles, but content, in my opinion, is the best vehicle because you can go the fastest, is to get this person to desire, which for some of you it might be. I'll use Jay Walcutts. Pain here is that he wants to do something. He wants to sell an academy, for example. Doesn't know how to do it, doesn't know how to offer it, doesn't know how to structure it, doesn't know how to make content for it. My content shows that I know how to do this. So if you think of it as your content should be pulling them away from their desire, away from their pain and push them towards desire. Excuse me. If it's not doing either one of them, your content is just noise. Does that make sense? Mission. So who here knows what a business mission is? Sam, what's a business mission?
Essentially, it is a succinct statement that outlines the core reason you do what you do from a tangible level that people can come along in your journey for.
Perfect. Content's the exact same. You need to think of content like a business. I know I just put Sam on the spot, he's going to hate me for that. But your mission is the purpose that your content serves. It's the reason why I've added it is, do I think it's necessary? Yes, but the only reason I think it's necessary is because people have no restriction. You don't know what to say. You don't know if I should post this. You don't know if I shouldn't post this. And then you end up in this recycle of, should I post this? Oh no, I'm going to take this out. Oh no, I'm going to add it back in. You never post. This is like a filter. It's like if it doesn't align to your mission, you shouldn't post it. If it does align to your mission, so what? Post it. It also helps with predictability. Now, there's a lot of things that's like, oh, you're very predictable as a person, and people look at that negatively. Your content needs to be predictable, right? So branding is the same, right? It takes 11 interactions, 7 interactions, whatever, consistent interaction with your brand before someone decides to make a purchasing decision with you, whatever. Content's the same. They need to have these multiple interactions with your content to be able to make a purchasing decision from you or to trust you enough. And if your content looks different and you're not predictable in what you're talking about, one day you're talking about fitness, next day you're talking about politics, do you think you're going to build any trust with your audience? My mission is to help younger Blake get rich. Even though I'm not fully rich, I'm a lot richer than where I was 2 years ago. And every piece of content that I post nowadays is directed at 16, 17-year-old Blake, because he would go way further if he knew the things that I knew now. As with anyone, if you were in the fitness industry, it's what you know now compared to when you started is like a catastrophic difference. This is where I was talking about the ICP and your content mission. Your content mission should be broad. So mine is to help younger Blake get rich. But my business mission is to help founders create premium personal brands. And it should be specific. I would copy this diagram down. It's my favorite diagram. And so for example, I know there's some of you here that don't actually have a business at all. You have an offer. You have something that people are giving you money for. That needs to be a specific offer. Now, your content mission will relate to your avatar. So this is why the avatar is also really important. Because if you're very clear on your avatar, so for example, I have 2 avatars. I have Ben and I have Grace. Ben is an 18 to 24-year-old freelance videographer. He makes $4,000 a month. He's in university. He has no idea how to make money, he's working his ass off, fucked with clients basically, but he's stuck at 4K, right? That relates. He relates to my mission, and he relates to where I was, going back to the story timeline. My ICP relates to my business mission. That's the whole idea. People buy into you, your company, your services because they relate to what you're doing, why you're doing it, but also that you solve their problem for them. And the one thing that I'm going to tell you, do we need that slide still? Does anyone need that slide? The reason this is so important is because of TAM. If anyone doesn't know what that means, it's total accessible market. The one thing you need to take away from today is that you need to make content for your for your avatar. Do not make content for your ICP. Your ICP don't care. too little of your ICP, if your ICP is correct, out there, enough for your content to even blow up or even to attract views, right? If you are able to make content for your avatar, naturally by this diagram, you have more people that you can attract compared to this. Like imagine you only made content for this little circle here. You know how many little people that would actually care about you? Whereas if you make it to your avatar, look at how many more people there are. Not to say that you shouldn't make content for your ICP. I think ICP content is very important, but something that I've noticed very recently is talking directly to your ICP doesn't really, it works, but it doesn't work depending on the platform. A lot of you will be starting off on Instagram. Do I think talking directly to your ICP on Instagram is the best way to go about it? Probably not. But then again, I can't really tell you because it depends on your business, depends on your goals and everything. But the main takeaway is that if you make content for your avatar, naturally your ICP is going to fall within your avatar. Knowing all of this about your mission, your story, your avatar, you naturally give yourself permission to make content and whatever the fuck you want, as long as it aligns to that mission. It doesn't have to align to your business mission at all. Your business mission could be to help young people get mentally fit in the gym and outside of the gym, right? But your content mission could just be help improve the well-being of young, ambitious people. Like, I'm riffing on the spot here, but your content mission has just enabled you to do so much more by a couple of tweaks in words and a couple of tweaks in who you're targeting. Well-being could be more than just gyms, you know what I mean? Does that all make sense? Any questions on that? I'm going to move on to the second thing. We're moving very, very fast. I must be a very quick speaker. The first positioning architecture stuff is really important because again, it's like that foundation for your house. But the unique angle that I have on content is that you need to be able to control how you're perceived. I think everyone has a bone of manipulation in them. I think everyone has a bone of fakeness in them as well. And if you don't, you need to get it. If you're going to walk away from this room, you need to be able to have a little bit of manipulation and a little bit of fakeness in you. I think authenticity is a lie. No one is truly authentic. I was talking with Sam just before. Sam's one of my clients, and we're doing a raw scripted head video, right? Is it actually raw? No, we've scripted it. It's very, very strategic, but we're making it, and we're giving the perception that it is a raw conversation. I've just outed him in front of a bunch of people. But who knows who Shelby Sapp is? No one knows who Shelby Sapp is? Wow. Pardon?
Should we?
Yeah, she's like, she owns, She Sells. She's like 2 million, she's married to, engaged to Alex Eubank.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, bro, all she does is pump out these raw video heads talking to the camera like, you know what the best thing about being a girl is? And she's like, I can buy myself proud, all that stuff. Good on her, she's killing it. But do you really think she's actually raw yapping? No, she's got an entire content team being so deliberate in everything that she puts out there. It's a mask, it's fake, it's a perception. But is it truly fake? No, there's always an element of fakeness in it. And again, this goes back to this idea, they're not going to see your intentions. Like when someone looks at my content, most people don't look at my content and say, oh, he's trying to sell me on something, right? That's intentional because of how I've developed my signals. Again, reaffirming, I don't think authentic is the be all and end all. Like there's a lot of, it's actually honestly a buzzword right now. It's like, oh, just be authentic with your content. Just be you, be real. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not enough. Because my authentic self is I don't want to be up here talking to people. Like I just want to be in my room by myself. But I can't be that. Do you know what I mean? Because I need to be interpretable. I need to be able to relate to my mission. I have goals. I can't just hide myself away in a room. I'm going to go really university level here, even though I haven't been to uni yet. There's 2 communication theories that I want to talk you through today. Very, very high level, but I've tried to pull it down a little bit. The first one is the expectations theory. I don't remember who it's by. Do you know? Cool. The expectations theory is basically states that people are going to judge you against an expectation, and then they're going to decide what your behavior means. So I'll go back. Brandon will know who this is, but there's a CEO on Instagram called Built on Time. And you'll never know, man's a multi-millionaire. He is consulting for some of the biggest companies in the world, and he legit posts stories just giving away free value. He takes phone calls with people, he messages them any time of the day. This guy runs and is consulting on multiple businesses. But his content works because our expectation of a CEO is to be this uptight fucking suit wearing, boom, 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 boom. Who do you think you'd listen to? The CEO that is just posting content, actually giving away free value versus the CEO that's sitting there in a suit? Like, we have this preset expectation on who someone is. Same way you look at, all right, online course selling gurus. There's this expectation that a course selling guru is like in Miami, driving a Lambo, rented, fucking $10 million a month. Like, that's our expectations. And when we see those expectations online, we automatically think he's trying to sell me something. But I don't know if you've noticed this a lot. Those course selling gurus, people, they're just moving away and they're creating a new expectation. They're not leading with the amount of money they're making. They're not leading with living in Miami. They're all saying, oh, I don't really like Miami. I'm just trying to move out of it. That's bullshit. Even Brett Scales, for example, guy lived in a Miami high-rise penthouse, and now he's in a house. And now the big thing with all these gurus is, no, I don't want to live in a penthouse. I want to live in a house out somewhere in USA. Because the expectation has been dried up. So they need to create something new. The thing I want you to take away from this is that you need to break expectations in the right direction. Violate like an amateur, you lose trust. So another way to put that is, like, I've been doing this for a little bit. I've been doing this for 20 years. Very easy for someone to tell me that I'm an amateur, and I'd be humble enough to take on their opinion. But if I start acting like an amateur, I lose trust. If I started standing up here and being like, I don't really know what content is. I don't know what to do. Like, are you going to listen to anything I say? But if you violate like a leader, you gain attention and status. Again, that goes to the example of Built on Time. Like, he's a massive leader. Like, I had a phone call with this guy a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully he's going to get on my podcast. But everything he talks about is 5 years behind time, because he can't talk about what's going on right now because he's got political ties like with presidents and prime ministers and everything, and business decisions. He's a big hitter, but he violates what these leaders would act like, and he sits there in his room with a t-shirt on talking about what he does and helping people, and he gets attention.
As well.
Yeah, he's got a baby. He walks around and he does stuff with his baby. Like, who expects that from someone in that position? That's why he has so much attention, and that's why people trust him. I would take anything that he says as a gold mine. This is EVT in action. Same behavior, it's just a different interpretation. So if your positioning is strong and your audience gives you, if your positioning is strong, your audience gives you positive interpretation. That was the line I'm trying to get out. A fitness coach posts a video eating McDonald's and talking about balance. If they built trust, strong positioning, receipts, consistency, people say they're real, they're relatable. I trust them more. Perfect example is Jonty here. This man would never eat McDonald's, but I guarantee he wouldn't. But I guarantee, because of his entire feed, everything on Instagram is Whole Foods, everything like this. I guarantee if he posted Macca's, he might get a little bit of clan of like, why the fuck are you eating McDonald's? But people would be like, holy fuck, he's a real human. He's not just this authority that just isn't crazy. Who here knows Iman Ghazi? Yep, cool.
I'm not sure if he's a scam or not. I haven't made up my mind yet.
There was a podcast with him a few weeks ago, and he was telling this anecdote about how someone asked him a question. He's like, so are you a real human? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, so do you like scroll TikTok or anything? He's like, yeah, like I'm a real person. But no one would actually expect that because of the perception that he's created of himself. He's supposed to be this high authority figure that everyone is just perfect. So if he actually posted him being on TikTok and being a normal person instead of being this high roller, people would trust him more. That, what Sam just said, is the exact thing of EVT in action. You perceive him as a scammer because he doesn't look like a real person. Going back to this. If they haven't posted anything, no proof, they're inconsistent, they're fat, nothing against fat, like just in the context of this, people will say they don't practice what they preach. Same way if Sam told me your brand matters really, like your colors need to be like really speaking to your audience. You know, you shouldn't really give a fuck about what your personal color is. All that matters is what your audience think and who you're making content for. But if he didn't apply that in his own business, I'd probably sit around and be like, fuck you, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's like, it's actually just a goldmine. Practice what you preach. Everything that I'm talking about today, same shit that I do. I have a mission. I have an avatar. Again, same action, but the difference is the expectation that they built before the violation. There's 3 levers you control in your perception. Is the expectation, what they assume is normal. The violation, what you're going to do differently. And the interpretation, which is what they believe it means. The lever you control the most is expectation. If you set the expectation correctly, interpretation becomes predictable. A brand is what people expect from you. An authority is when that expectation feels high value. So a really good example of that is, without uploading myself, is myself. People expect people in my industry to be this young kind of person just sitting in his room, meta ads and all that type of vibe. I personally create authority by breaking the expectation by giving a lot of fucks about the way I look. In my content, I don't know if you've noticed, if you scroll back on my page, you can actually see my thinking progress over time. When I first started, again, really shit, got a little bit better. I invested in a camera. I started doing all this meme content, and we'll get into that later. I then positioned to doing these like talking heads, and they were very like a little bit more put together. I was using the mic, I had the lights in the background, and I did that for a little bit. And then now I've got this premium look, like I've perfected my style. But you can look at my content now and you can tell that feels high value. This is the other communication theory. It's called the triangle of persuasion. And I look like a knob now that I've stolen this from someone in my industry, but they've just started posting content on it and I thought I was onto something. But this has been around for 2,000 years, like longer than we've been around. The idea of persuasion is built on 3 kind of pillars: logos, pathos, and ethos. Has anyone heard of this before? Yep, marketing. Am I covering another thing?
Nah, year 7.
Year 7, okay.
Year 7.
Year 7, fuck.
Let's skip that part.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, has anyone heard about that? No, okay, cool. Logos is logic. It's like, does this make sense to the person? Is it a clear claim? Is it simple reasoning? Is there evidence or examples? Ethos is trust. Why should I trust you? Is there competence? Is there character? Is there consistency? Pathos, emotion. Do I feel something? Is there tension? Is there desire? Is there identity? And like this, an example is logos. Does this make sense for someone to work with me? Do I have a clear claim? Yeah, I get really fucking good results, right? Simple reasoning, because I'm the best in what I do. And I would honestly, if you are thinking about how you can come across on these, this is go back to my comment on being a little bit fake and a little bit manipulative. There are 2 types of manipulation. There's evil manipulation and there's good manipulation. You need to get good at good manipulation. That's all sales is, right? You need to be able to manipulate your audience into trusting you. You do this through persuasion. Again, it goes back to if you do get the time, I would read to How to Win and Influence Friends. I haven't read all of it, but I've read half of the book right now and it's changed my entire perception on everything. Crazy. Ethos. Trust. Why do I trust you? Is there competence? I feel like I'm pretty competent. Like I feel like I can sit on a camera, I can talk. I'm sitting in front of you guys right now, I'm giving you a presentation. I feel like I'm pretty competent. Character. Am I an all right person? I like to think I am. I don't know, some people would have a different perspective on that. And am I consistent? I'm very fucking consistent. I've been doing this for 3 years and I'm only just getting started. But that's the one thing that most people have over other people. J-Wall Cuts has 3 years of experience and consistency over the person just starting out. Pathos, emotion. Do I feel something? I personally feel like I care so much about every single person that works for me. There is a value in our company, thank you, Sam, called we treat our own brand like it's our own. And when I read that, I'm shouting out Burst Brand Agency right now, but I actually felt like it embodied everything that I am as a person. I care so much about every single person that works with me. I care so much about all of you that are in the room with me right now. Like, I want you all to succeed. In fact, I called Jonty last night. And you can vouch on this. I'm always talking to him and I'm like, are you doing this? Like, I want every single person in this room to be fucking amazing.
Yeah, you're good, man.
Thank you, thank you. But the fact that I can tickle these boxes in persuasion, It's why you trust me. It's why you're here today. It's why some of you invested in me. If you need to be able to show this. So Logos is your, like when we get into content pillars, the best way I can simply run over it now is Logos is, does this make sense? Is there proof of what you do? Yeah, I get pretty good results. I did 1.6 million views in a month for one of my clients. Jonty, 650K views in first video that we posted. Ethos, why should I trust you? I'm very consistent. I post all the time. I show up the same way. My messaging is very clear. I stand for something. I have values. Pathos, I care about people. Does that make sense? Attention is the entrance and trust is the asset, and you need to have a path that turns trust into clients. So we're going to get into a little bit of like monetization and put everything together. Your story, your avatar, mission, and the communication theories. All of these three things need to come together. If they don't come together, it makes no sense. That's why the whole diagram on the positioning architecture all overlaps. If you're missing a piece, you can't do it. In terms of monetization, trust is useless if it stays silent. So your path is how you invite people to take the next step. Like we don't want to be selling content. Again, going back to this diagram about pain to desire, like you actually get this tattooed. I don't fucking care. Put it somewhere, stick it on your wall, put it on make it your backdrop. That is all your content serves from now on, no matter who you are. And as we've already established, you do this through content. Who here knows what content pillars are? There's 4 content pillars that I use personally. Value, proof, story, and meme. And now meme is the most recent one. And these 3 are pretty common. Like if you've ever consumed a piece of how to start making content, they're always going to say, post value, post proof, post your story. I believe for these pillars, value, the purpose is to educate and help. Proof, the purpose is credibility and belief. Story is connection and depth. And meme is to expand reach. Anyone that says that reach doesn't matter is also lying to you, depending on your goal. Just be very clear. I believe that reach is very, very important, depending on what position you are in. And that's why my Reputation Accelerator has the standards section, is you need to be able to identify where you are. I don't know if I said this in this room or if it was out there. The content that I post for Sam, he doesn't rely on content to run his business and to make a living. It's completely different to how I would make content for someone that's just starting out that needs to make money through content. 2 different things. Value content looks like tips, frameworks, how-tos, lessons, and it builds trust. All these pillars need to relate to your avatar, right? So when your avatar is watching a piece of value content, they need to be able to think, this person actually knows their stuff. So if Jay Wall Cuts was to talk about how to cut hair, how to do a scissor cut, and he's showing himself doing it with these $400 Japanese scissors and he's cooking, people are going, fuck yeah, he knows what he's talking about. Same thing for Jonty. If he was talking about how to lose 10 kilos and he's able to show his story, his timeline of what he's been able to do, yeah, fuck, Jonty knows what he's talking about. The proof looks like results, testimonials, case studies. Side note, some of you that don't have any results, any testimonials, this is probably more directed at products, services. If you don't have them, work for free. I'm a big person on work for free. I worked for free for 3 years. So you know what I mean? You need to be able to get those results. You need to get those testimonials. I also think that doing case studies on people in your industry are really important. So a really big thing is how I would help X person do this. That's had a massive brainwave moment for you, Jet. You could do how I would cut Alex Hormozi's hair. Use big names. You got to run off their personal brands. How I would do X person's hair. That shit is killer, right? Because one, it shows that you know what you're talking about. If you don't have results, you obviously have results, but it's also a good idea. Someone like Jonty, your result is yourself. That's the best one that you can have, is your own result. But the best way you can also show that is how I would help this person get this result. It acts as an indirect case study. So when I first started out, I used to post videos on how I would help X brand grow on social media. And I would take them through everything that I would do for their business. And you create an indirect case study that creates proof. And that is going to make them thinking, this actually works. They're not just saying this because the fuck they're saying it. And that's why I believe that, you need to practice what you preach. You need to be living, walking proof. Story looks like origin stories, which is that timeline, is where you were, where you are, where you're going. That's your origin story. And also very important, once you have that filled out properly, you can sit back and call on that all the time. BTS, vulnerable, failures. I want to highlight failures. You need to be very, very, very open about your failures. Again, what did I say at the start? You cannot have intimacy without vulnerability. You need to tell people your failures. There was a couple of videos that I posted a while ago. It was like when I was documenting me actually starting out, and I spoke about how I suck at getting people on a sales call. It was my best video. And in fact, I got a sales call out of that video.
Such a daunting thing though, isn't it?
Talking about failures.
Yeah.
It is. Like talking about your failures is, like, yeah, it is hard. Like I'm not even gonna sit here and say it's not hard. Like there's a lot of failures that probably I could also talk about. And sometimes you don't want to talk about the failures, but you need to figure out how you can talk about your failures indirectly or directly. So like another example could be maybe like Brandon, like I hate using people as an example, but like for example, posture. A big thing like at the moment that we're looking at is the daily recaps, posting every day for 9 days straight. And I'm telling him, you need to talk about what you didn't do, right? Like if you're, again, authenticity is a lie, but if you're authentic enough to be able to talk about what you're not doing, people are going to trust the things that you are doing because not everyone's perfect. Does that make sense? Meme content, what do people think a meme is? Crickets.
Funny and relatable.
Funny, relatable, that was the word I was looking for. You need to be relatable. This is how you're going to expand your reach, you know? Shareable, it's low friction. It's the shit that you send Instagram reels to your best mate about. That's the funny stuff. Have you ever noticed how everything you send to your mate is fucking funny, it's relatable, or it's got lots of likes and views and shares? It's because lots of people relate to it. You need to figure out how you can make content like that relates to your content and mission. Big way that, like for example, Jonty, we post a lot of relatable meme content where it's quotes, him working out, showing the food and stuff like that. It's like a trendy caption, trendy audio, and that shit goes off.
Get ready to talk about some laughs.
Gotta have the ring first.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. Hey, that's proof. You have to have them all. But that builds expanding the amount of people that see you, which is also very important, again, depending on what stage you're in. So someone like Sam, like this is the first time I've met Sam, but like you don't post content at the moment. So meme content would be really, really important for you compared to say posting value content, right? So that's why it's very important to understand what stage of the journey you're on, and please ask me at the end. Together, those four content pillars take your avatar away from pain to pleasure. Again, that sales graph that we were talking about. Their biggest frustration, value content addressing it. Their dream outcome, story content showing your path there. What they've tried before, proof content showing a different way. Their internal dialogue, meme content that builds familiarity. I can't speak. You don't have to reinvent the wheel or ideas to hit all pillars either. Like this is where a very clear content system comes into play. So I have a system that I use with my Done For You clients, which is we have content pieces, content vault, and content library. So for me, my content vault consists of podcasts, YouTube videos, all that gets turned into content pieces where they're key ideas. And then the key ideas get turned into Instagram content, LinkedIn content, every other piece of content. You're able to map your ideas. All of my content relates back to a couple of key content pieces and a couple of key ideas. Because if we go back to sales, it takes 7 to 11 interactions before someone trusts you enough to buy from you. And it needs to be consistent. You need to be delivering the same message. But anyways, the concept is that he posts the same idea multiple times. Because you need to drill it into your audience's head. The thing I want you to take away from this kind of slide deck is content ideation and how you can do it. Number one thing that I hear everyone talk about is, I don't know what to talk about. I don't have enough content. I don't know if any of you follow me, but you saw my split screen reel where I was like, never runs out of content versus always has content. The person that never runs out of content has a clear system. This is the gold mine right here. You need to be able to take one idea 4 ways. This is one part of the equation. So, topic. I lost my first client because I overpromised. Story. Tell the full story. What happened? What you felt? What changed? Value. 3 signs you're over-promising to clients and how to fix it. Proof. Since I fixed this, client retention went from 40 to 90%. Meme. POV. You promised the moon and delivered a pebble. Do you understand that's the same idea? 4 different pieces of content. And I'm going to get to the magic bit now when people are ready for me to switch over, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That could be easily interchangeable for 5 key ideas. 5 times 4 is 20 pieces of content. That's 4 weeks if you post consistent. 4? Yeah, 4 weeks if you post every day during Monday to Friday. If you post 3 times a week, 3, 6, 9, 12. It's a lot of content. This is where it gets actually fun. 1 idea, 4 pillars, multiple formats, endless content. This is something that I built. It is a content format vault, and I'll give it to all of you that you can take away. Basically, you can have 1 idea, 4 pillars, and deliver it in multiple ways. You could deliver it in highlights. So for example, this is actually the best example, to be completely honest. I have multiple ideas. This slide deck is built off of all of my ideas. I'm reaffirming that. I'm filming this right now. That's going to get turned into content. Same content that I've already delivered, same ideas, different format. Scripted talking head, transformations, storytelling, podcasts, voiceovers, street interviews, client montages, raw talking head, diagrams, masterminds, green screen, comparison, trending audio and caption. There is so many different formats that you can post on. So in this database, it talks about what it is, why it works, intention, downside, and there's an overall score. So you can see the best format is highlights, without a doubt. How you go about creating those highlights is a different conversation. I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you on how you can do that. But every single format is ranked on the virality, the conversion, and how easy it is to produce. For example, this one down here, that's wrong, that should be 5. But masterminds is pretty hard to produce because you have to get people in a room. But the conversion is like 4 or 5. You know what I mean? It's high conversion, but there's a downside to it. This is what module 1 and 2 built. Positioning is going to make you eligible, authority makes you credible, and content is the vehicle to do all of that. People aren't going to buy from a post. They're going to buy after a conversation. And how do we think conversations start? They reply to your story, they DM you after a post hits, they comment and they follow you up, they get it referred, and they already trust you. So like, have you ever seen those like comment call to actions or reply to this story? I did one a few weeks ago. We all see them. That's forcing a conversation on someone. And then as soon as you respond to them, they usually get hit with a bunch of automations to try and get you to sign up to their email newsletter. The conversation qualifies. So this is more talking about sales. So once I should probably actually take a step back really quickly. Everything we've just covered is all about who you are, the content you should be making, how you make that content, the type of content. You legit just have the entire playbook there, especially when you can sit down and digest and you go through that worksheet. It'll all make way more sense as to what I'm saying right now. But you then need to have this path to actually make fucking money. Like, who in here doesn't want to make money? Thank you. You just need to figure out how you make that money. And I didn't include it in this slide, but I'll get into it a little bit later, is that I think there's 3 different ways of making money through content. The number one thing that I need you to take away from today is that if you are selling a service, a product, anything, you do not sell in the DMs. In fact, I had a conversation with a sales rep the other day. I was trying to sell him. He asked for it in the DMs, knowing that he was actually testing me. And I said, no, let's get on a call. And we got on a call and he said, I was testing you. You should never ever pitch in the DMs. Because what happens when you pitch in the DMs? You drop a price, or you drop, this is what I can do from you. You have no idea on how to objection handle. So objection handling is when you're in a sales call. So let's say I was selling my done for you service, $10,000 a month, and you're a business owner, and they'd probably hit me with the objection of, oh, that's a lot of money, I've got to think about it. I'd sit there and say, what's there to think about? Whether or not you want to be the best or you just want to be forgotten about. There's lots of other objections as well, like you can scroll on sales. But if I drop $10,000 in the DMs, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, they have the option not to respond to you at all as well.
There's no way. Every single sales call I take, you have to have your camera on, you have to be in a quiet room, I have to have your full attention. Because when I drop the price and you're going to hit me with objections, because I know you are, unless you've already been pre-sold, which also a lot of my people are, I can't objection handle them if they're in the DMs because they can walk away, they can run away. But if they're in the Zoom call or they're on the Google Meet, what are you going to do? Click the hang up button. People have balls, but they don't have balls just to quit a meeting. Everyone can be persuaded. This is the manipulation thing where it's like good manipulation is everything, especially if you want to sell. You need to be able to manipulate someone into thinking that you are the person to take them from pain to desired outcome. That's why you need to be able to read the person that you're on a call with, and this is why the call is so important. You need to be able to tell where they are in that point of the buying journey, and then when you can pitch. And then when you drop the price, you never speak. It's like the rule with real estate agents. You got to play real estate. It's like you don't call them, you don't talk. First to talk loses the conversation. Every time I drop the price, it'll be $10,000. Dead silence. I actually had a meeting with someone that does sales. He teaches people how to do sales. And when we had a call, we were talking about stuff, and he was like, this is the exact shit that I teach my people. I teach my students. So I'm not just fucking making this up either. I forgot where I was at. As I was saying, your conversation qualifies. That's where that whole thing was with Liam. Like, you can't just drop a price on someone. You need to be able to qualify this person. Pre-qualification questions. Is this program right for you? Is what I'm doing right for you? Because if it's not right for you, well, then I'm never going to deliver for you. The call is where you actually sell and convert them. Your only job in these conversations, like I was saying, understand their situation. See if you can actually help them. If yes, then invite them to a call. Do not pitch in the DMs. This is why understanding your avatar is very, very, very important. Sorry. If you already understand all of their frustrations, beliefs, pain points, your content is able to speak directly to that person that you want to sell, and they're going to sell themselves. This is why I said a lot of the people that I have calls with, they've already pre-sold. I had a sales call 2 weeks ago. One person says, I've been watching your content for the past 2 months. I love what you're doing. I understand why you're doing it and everything. I'd love to just get down to the nitty-gritty of what it actually looks like. That's how we opened the sales call. I was like, okay, cool. This is what it looks like. Quoted him. Here we are today. So this goes back to, like, if you spend time on this avatar document, and if you have a service or you want to sell a service or a product, you need to understand your ICP, because then your ICP is the pain points, frustrations, beliefs. Sam can vouch this for me. It's very, very important with your ICP, because then you can, as I'm saying, you're able to speak to them. You understand them, and innately you can sell to them. The more you understand your avatar and an audience, the better your content becomes. Like, look at a piece of content from someone with 500 followers compared to someone with 1 million followers. The reason the person is at 1 million followers, like, there could be like a lot of variables there, but the main reason is that they understand people. There's a sense of connection, right? Compared to the 500 follower that doesn't really understand who they're selling to most of the time. They don't understand what they're trying to do. They don't understand who's watching the other piece of their content. What are they feeling? Again, I'm going to reference How to Win and Influence Friends again. You need to understand what the other person wants. If you can understand what another person wants, you will always, always be able to sell, persuade, and your content will always work. Think of content as just communication. You should always act from a place of data, though, where possible, instead of guessing. Because you need to be super, super, super intentional with your content. So it gets to a point in every business. Like, has anyone here done an onboarding form for like a program or something before? Cool. That onboarding form is not there for shits and gigs. 99% of the time, it's there to collect data on you and why you purchase from them. And if the business doesn't do that, then they're missing out on a lot of data to influence their marketing. A simple way to understand is by asking questions. So for example, every single time I sign on a client, I ask 5 questions, part of their onboarding form. Number 1, what made you want to work with me? Like, this allows me to like fully understand what is it about me that convinced this person to work with me. Number 2, what finally pushed you to book a call? And I'm asking, is it a piece of content, a story, or is it something else? But I want to understand, what is it of my content formats? What type of content am I posting that is actually driving someone away, my audience, my ICP, away from pain to pleasure and the desired outcome? What are your biggest hesitations before joining? Was it price, trust, timing, or something else? If they say their biggest hesitation was price, my content will be to objection handle price. If it's trust, well, I need to build more trust. There are many online agencies, because like I'm an agency, this could be a coach, it could be, like you probably wouldn't do it for like hairdresser, this is probably the most irrelevant thing, but if you were doing an academy, like there's many other barbering academies, why did you choose us? This gives you also an angle where you can be like, people are choosing us for X, but also it can validate anything that you're doing. So a lot of the responses that I get in here, they choose me because I'm young, ambitious, and they respect that I'm young and ambitious. In your opinion, what are the most valuable aspects of the service that you didn't realize until we had our call? Most people that book a call, like I said, I've already pre-sold themselves, but when they get on the call, they don't actually know fully what your service looks like. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I've taken lots and lots of sales calls purely for the sake of market research. Like I think there was a period of time where I took like 8 sales calls a day for like programs, agencies, shit like that. I was basically wasting their fucking time, but it enabled me to look from a buyer's perspective, see what the other person was doing without having to pay for that sales mentorship bullshit, right? A lot of the time, I actually understood nothing about the business until I was on a sales call with them. That's bad. Like if it's nothing, it's bad. Like if someone was to look at me, obviously it's a little bit different now, but previously they could look at my account and they could say, okay, well, yeah, he sells content. Like he does content and personal branding. And there's a lot more content coming out now because not a lot of people actually understand what I did. They didn't understand that I did done for you systems, or actually most people didn't even know I had an offer. And that was a lot of the feedback that I was getting. So I've changed my entire content, acting from a place of data instead of just guessing. Can you understand how fucking important these questions are? Like if you even sell an offer or a fitness question, like a fitness offer, you need to be able to understand, what are you not telling people? Because if you aren't telling people certain things, you're going to make it harder to close. Your entire point of the business and the sales call and the sales process should be easy, simple, and let's just sell. You came here to become impossible to ignore. That's the entire name of the mastermind. And here's what you now have. You have the positioning architecture that's going to make you eligible. Story, avatar, and mission. That's that worksheet. Fill it out. Spend probably, I would allocate 2 hours. It says 45 minutes on the document. Spend as much time as you actually can on it. Fill it out in extreme detail. Do not use ChatGPT. Do not use AI. It uses raw answers. It's the best thing that you can do. Get philosophical with that shit. If you need a cigar to do it, get a cigar. Authority that makes you credible, because authority is what you need today. You cannot just be posting storytelling videos because you're going to fit into every single other category of these people just telling, oh, I quit university and I went to Bali. I hate that. All right? You need to feel and be credible because people need to trust you. And that's where those communication theories come into. Expectations theory, break those expectations appropriately. Make sure you're hitting off ethos, logos, and pathos. Actually act like you give a shit about what you're selling or who you're talking to. You know, be competent in what you're doing and show that it's logical for them to work with you. You then also have a path that turns trust into clients. You've got the 4 pillars. You need to have conversations with people, and the conversations to qualify those leads, and then the calls where you sell them and you make some money. The only thing left is to do the work. Positioning is just a strategy document without production. Like there's no reason from here, whatever stage you're at, if you're a barber and you don't actually do sales call, you could actually walk out here and maybe make an academy. There's no reason why you can't. Or if you're just starting out, you can establish yourself as the go-to name in music production. You have the entire blueprint now. You just have to actually do the work. Questions?